We're here. We made it somehow. We made it to 2021. Welcome to 2021 and the new podcast channel. I hope you're having a fantastic start of the year. I'm kind of still processing the whole idea that 2020 is over because honestly, it's just been so exhausting. It's been a very tiring year for everyone and just an overall terrible year with everything going on. And I felt like I should have felt relief on New Year's Day at midnight, but I most definitely did not. Not gonna lie, kind of looked outside my window and was expecting Titans to just start running down my street because I didn't have that on my 2020 bingo card, but I think I'm going to make a 2021 bingo card because today is also incredibly eventful. I haven't even gotten a chance to write down or look into what's currently happening. As I'm recording this, apparently there's just a lot going on in the White House right now, but I would hope that everyone in the DC area is safe. I don't know what's happening. I will probably talk about that next week once the stories are out and I have some more information, but I'm kind of stressed already, to be honest with you. With that being said, I'm going to try to focus on the positive and I'm going to try to just consider it as a new, fresh start. And yes, there are new potential things that can go wrong, but there are new potential things that can go right. And that's the mentality I'm going to try to have for the rest of the year and hopefully the rest of my life because that's just something that we're going to need to do if we are going to maintain our mental health after the year that we've just had. 2020 has definitely taught us that there's going to be points in time where we're not able to do the things that we want to do, even the most basic things like going to the gym, going to a restaurant, traveling. So I would say, while being safe, obviously we still have to take our precautions, like we still have to be social distancing and all that. So just use this opportunity to plan out what you're going to be doing for the rest of the year, what your goals are, what your ambitions are, because you basically had a whole year to think about it. So that's something to consider. It's definitely been a tough year, but it's one of those kind of tricky things where it's kind of like a blessing in disguise. I feel like that's a controversial thing for me to say, but I feel like people did have time to kind of reflect on the current things that they were doing in their lives or just the things that they weren't happy with in their lives. Like you had plenty of time, which is both unfortunate, but like could be fortunate if you try to have an optimistic way of thinking. Um, so there have been people that have completely changed their career paths, started getting into more creative outlets, starting podcasts and stuff like that. So um, it could be a blessing in disguise if you try to think of it that way. And if you're the type of person to have New Year's resolutions, I feel like I used to be one of those people that were like, oh, but you could change your life like at any point in time. You don't need a new year to do that. Be happy. Do it whenever you want to. Like, I'm definitely one of those people that I'm just like, oh, I'll start doing this like on Monday or something like that. Like, yeah, you can put it off and maybe you just need a day to feel like a fresh start or a year for it to feel like a fresh start. That's fine by me. I stopped being that way and you don't need to be that way or be that kind of person. Just let people do things at their own pace. And sometimes that's on January 1st. So if you have any New Year's resolutions, I would love to hear them. Mine are basically just focusing on my content, trying to be more consistent, and to just read more books. I've been into audiobooks lately, so I'm just trying to get through a whole bunch of books because I feel like I always want to read books and I'm always like, that sounds like a really good book. Then I'll bookmark it or I will buy it and then it will just sit in my closet and I never get around to reading it. So audiobooks have been really helpful because basically you can literally just listen to it while you're doing something else, which has been really helpful for me to get through books. I got through like 10 books last year. Um which isn't a lot of books when you think about it in terms of taking a whole year, but I think I started reading in about September. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I think I'm allowed to be proud of myself considering I went a really long time without reading. So I have simple goals. And I think that's another thing too, is that a lot of people try to make it seem like you need to have these crazy goals just because it's a new year. And it's like you can have a simple goal. It's like, I want to read 5 books this year. That's it. Like, or like I just people make it seem like you have to go and get a master's degree like every year, and you really don't have to. Just enjoy things, do things at your own pace, and just try, at this point, just try to have a good time with the year that we've had. I would say 2021 has some potential. Like, we can only go up from here. I don't think it could get worse. Please don't quote me on that. But I would say that people are kind of, they're starting to get the vaccine. The vaccine is being distributed. I'm a little bit concerned about it, if I had to be honest with you. And I'm kind of like, I know that I'm not a doctor, but I'm also kind of not down with these people being like, oh, why are you so worried about the vaccine? Like, just take the vaccine, like people are dying. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, have you never seen I Am Legend? Have you never seen the beginning of any disaster zombie movie? Like, this is, I'm sorry that I don't want to take a vaccine that was like tested for only a year. And like I can't help but think about those commercials that are like, did you get this vaccine in 2002 and now like your left leg fell off? Well, you can get some compensation. Like, I get, I'm a little bit concerned about, how this is going to affect me long term. I don't want to look like a Ninja Turtle in the year 2035 because I took this vaccine that was clearly rushed. I'm a little bit worried about that. And I think it's valid for people to be worried about a vaccine that was obviously quickly made in a rush under Trump administration. Like, I think it's a little bit concerning. And then it actually, to my understanding, like, I feel like it wouldn't even matter if I got the vaccine right away, because I think we're going to end up being a society that wears masks all the time anyway. So if I'm going to be forced to wear the mask in the first place, then I might as well just keep wearing my mask and get the vaccine when it's been worked on a little bit more. I'm a little bit concerned. And I think if you're concerned, like, don't let the memes, like, discourage you. Like, I think your feelings are valid if you don't want to get the vaccine right away. I feel like it's not right to pressure people to be like, yes, I understand that it's a very serious concern, and I'm not gonna go and tell people don't get the vaccine because of XYZ. I'm just going to say, like, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the idea because of my own reasons. Some people are like, oh, I'm not gonna hesitate, like, give it to me twice, like, I'm gonna do it, like, and that's fine, by all means. I'm not a doctor, so I cannot tell you what to do or what not to do. I'm just a little bit concerned. Maybe I've seen too many movies, but I think I'm just gonna wait a bit if we're gonna end up having to wear masks for the next several years anyway. And honestly, I just want, like, I think this is gonna be such a first world problem, but I think my biggest pet peeve so far about this pandemic is the fact that I can't sit down and eat anywhere. Like, I don't even mean like a fancy restaurant that like you have like a waiter and everything. Like, I really hate living in the city and not having a place to sit down and eat my food. Like, I have to go to fast food restaurants and then walk around with my bag of food and try to find a bench to sit on, which I never find. Like, I know that's such a first world problem. Like, oh, boohoo me. Like, yes, yeah, Kim, there are people that are dying. Like, yes, I know, I am aware, but I'm being a brat about it. I'm sorry. Like, I don't like it when my food experience is messed with in any kind of way. I've just been seeing a lot of vaccine memes that are kind of just like, you don't need to worry about what's in the vaccine if you eat at Taco Bell. And I'm just like, okay, well, valid, because I also am kind of concerned about what Taco Bell is made out of. But, I do feel like I should be worried. I feel like it's valid if you are worried. I feel like it's also valid if you're like not. Like, if you're just ready to get it, and you're super excited and you're going to be one of the first, like, especially for the essential workers, the nurses and doctors that are exposed to this so much, like, yeah, like, if they want to be the first ones to get it, then by all means, they're doctors and nurses. They would probably know more. I mean, they especially know more than I do. So I wish them the best, and I hope that they get it first. Good for them. And I am just trying to remain optimistic for the rest of the year. I am also trying to find myself things to look forward to in 2021. I'm trying to think, like, what movies are supposed to be coming out this year. I know the Batman with Robert Pattinson is supposed to come out at some point this year. I don't know if that got delayed, but that looks kind of cool. So maybe I'll look forward to that. Uh, we're also looking forward to some games. I would say I know Stardew Valley is getting an update. I know that Cyberpunk is still broken, so I hope they fix Cyberpunk. I'm really sad about everything that went wrong with Cyberpunk. Like, I know that sounds silly, but like, I wasn't even planning on playing it, but there were so many people that were so excited for it, and for it to be just like super duper broken, and for basically every platform to just accept refunds right off the bat, like, that's a really bad sign that any any platform that you get it on is just like, yeah, I'm sorry, you can get your money back. Like, that's a really bad sign, and I feel really bad. Um, and I just hope that they release enough patches to fix things. But I think it says something about the kind of culture that we live in terms of gaming, because it they kept delaying the game, and I'm the type of person that I am perfectly fine with games being delayed for as long as they needed to be delayed for, as long as I get a game that is perfectly functional. And I feel like there aren't a lot of people that are like that. That I feel like a lot of people are kind of just like, blah, like, this is taking so long. I'm not going to buy it anymore. I'm not interested. And it's like, to a point, yes, I do understand being frustrated. But then now everyone's upset because they ended up with a game that's barely functional. And it's just like, that's no one's fault but your own, because you put pressure on the developers. You are literally sending developers death threats to release this game that wasn't finished. Like, now you ended up with a game that doesn't work, and you wasted your time. And there are people that are still trying to play it, because to my understanding, I think the PC version is the most stable, but then even then, it's hard to get through. And I heard that like some people's games were crashing once you reach a certain like memory storage in your save file, which is also really unfortunate, because that basically means the more you progress, the more likely your game is to just crash, which is really unfortunate. And so I wish the best for all those people that were hoping for Cyberpunk to be Game of the Year. And I hope you guys can eventually have a way of playing it that is stable and fun. And I hope it's the game that you guys want it to be. I will be continuing to watch and enjoy all the memes. Because to my understanding, I didn't even have like a graphics card that was capable of running it for a while. So I hope you guys are treating yourselves to new PCs and graphics cards, which are also really hard to get. But I wish you guys the best in 2021. Unless you're a scalper, in which case, go fuck yourself. Uh, really don't understand the scalping culture either. I don't understand the joy of taking something away from someone and then selling it for profit. I've been really keeping an eye on how they've been handling scalping and resellers in terms of the new consoles. I found something very interesting where the PS5 and the new I don't even know what the new Xbox is called, because they all sound the same. I was like, what is it? Xbox. So it's Xbox Series X. I would really love to talk to whoever the hell is in charge of naming these consoles, because it's just all, I don't know what's what anymore. And like, I'm not a big Xbox person anyway, but like, damn, like, I should at least know what they're called. Anyway, I digress. Something that I thought that was really interesting was that they focused a lot on bundling things. So they would basically make a whole bunch of like PS5 bundles that came with like Spider-Man and a controller or like 2 controllers. And I think the new PS5 has a motion control camera type shit. I don't know. I wasn't interested in the PS5. My PS4 is currently a dust collector. So I wasn't interested. I didn't look into it too much, but I found it very interesting that that's the kind of the ways that we have to do things now. We have to sell things in bundles so that trash people don't try to sell it for ridiculous amounts of money. I don't even know when there's going to be another restock of a PS5 or anything, but I hope everyone that wants a PS5 will get one. If you got one for Christmas, congratulations. You're one of the lucky ones. I saw something that was really odd on TikTok. It was like this TikToker. He had taken a PS5 and it was fucking frozen in a block of ice, and he was just walking around with it and trying to get people to. He was giving people a pickaxe, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, try to get the PS5 out. If you can get it out, you get to keep the PS5." And I'm just like, I feel like that doesn't function anymore. I'm not entirely sure I want a water damaged PS5. How did you freeze it? How did you also, why did you waste the PS5? Like, if you really just wanted to give away a PS5, you could have just done like a raffle or like, oh, like I hate like these TikTokers or like these YouTubers, these influencers. They're so annoying sometimes with some of the things that they do for views. And it just like really like I'm sorry, like I know we're in the middle of a pandemic right now and someone ruining a PS5 is probably not the biggest thing going on right now, but influencers this year have been extra annoying. Like I can't believe like people are really out here just having parties as well. Having parties with no like you can't go a few months without having a party, like a year even. You can't have like a you could maybe have 5 friends over at your house at a time, social distance, but you're like also unless you're in California. If you're in California, you need to stay the fuck home and you need to like stop having friends over, stop having parties. I Jake Paul was having a bunch of parties, James Charles kept going to parties, all these influencers. Like I think those, oh my god, forgive me because I don't know their names cuz I'm not on straight TikTok. Um those girls that like the she has like a coffee with Dunkin' Donut, Charlie D'Amelio, the D'Amelio sisters like deadass went to like Hawaii or the Bahamas or something. I don't understand. What are you not grasping? Like just because you're able to get like healthcare because you're rich and stuff like that doesn't mean that you won't pass it on to someone else, and it doesn't mean that you should be flexing on people that you can go places like I don't understand. I feel like influencers and celebrities were just extra tone deaf this year, and it's actually just been driving me crazy. Like, if anything, something that kind of made me laugh. Like, do you remember earlier last year, Kim Kardashian was like, "Oh, it's been such a hard year. So for my birthday, I rented a private island to have my birthday with everyone." What? Excuse how tragic that you had to go to a whole completely different island to have your birthday party. Like what is this flex? Like I don't stay you couldn't FaceTime with your family. You couldn't just like I get it, you're Kim Kardashian, but like oh my god, like we know you're Kim Kardashian. Like and even if like I almost feel like posting it online was what made it worse. Like doing it in the first place was annoying, but it just it doesn't make sense. Like even if you went and took a test and then everyone went to this island to celebrate your birth because okay, that's something you have to celebrate on private island apparently. You still have to get tested after that. So you're just wasting tests. And I feel like something that annoys me is that these influencers keep saying, "Oh, we get tested before and after." And it's like you wouldn't have to do that if you would just stay home. Stay home. You're wasting tests when you do that. And like, there aren't a lot of tests. Like, we have to limit the amount of tests we do every day because this United States does not have enough tests. And I just don't understand why celebrities think that this doesn't apply to them. I don't understand the money flex. What's the money flex protecting you from? Because like, you're still just as capable of getting sick or passing it on to someone as anybody else is. So I don't understand what's going on. But these influencers have been driving me crazy, and I hope that they just all get canceled next year or this year coming up. Like, they just need to just stay home. Just stay home. It's not hard. While we're on the topic of things that have pissed me off, I needed to talk about this story. As soon as I saw it, I was seeing it happening on Twitter. And as I was seeing it, I was just like, I feel like I need to discuss this. For those of you that didn't see it, that aren't on Twitter, this just made me so, like, livid. So I was on Twitter and I was seeing something trending called Bean Dad. And it was really weird and I didn't know why, but people kept referencing it in my timeline. So it just so happens the thread found its way to me, and I had the what's the word? The just I had the blessing to read this thread and see what everyone was talking about, because I didn't understand why everyone was so upset over a can of beans until I read the entire thread. So this guy, basically, his name is John Roderick. I don't know this name. I don't know this person. Sorry, I guess he's irrelevant because I don't know who he is. This is my first time hearing about him, so I don't know what he does. But he actually had to deactivate his Twitter after posting this thread because I think he was just getting a lot of backlash. I don't know if he was getting death threats and all that jazz. But basically, everyone was saying that he is an abusive father. And the reasoning for this is pretty insane. So I actually couldn't find the original tweets because, again, he had to delete his Twitter after all this happened. But thankfully, there are news articles on it, and there is someone that actually managed to grab all of the screenshots. I am not going to read the entire thread to you, but I'm going to try my best to summarize it the best way that I can. John Roderick, a musician, podcaster, and lead singer of the band The Long Winters, not familiar, but okay, who was nicknamed Bean Dad after a Twitter thread about his daughter struggling to use a can opener went viral, apologized Tuesday on his website. I have not read his apology because I'm honestly not that interested in it, but y'all, if I find it, I'll link it to the description because I just kind of feel like what he did was kind of gross. Shout out to Maniacal4 for grabbing these screenshots because I did retweet it and then I saw that it was gone. Like, I retweeted it to refer back to it later, but because he deleted his account, I couldn't find the tweets. I am not going to read this entire thread to you, but you are welcome to do that. I will link it in the description as well. So let's discuss. You're probably wondering, why am I so upset about a can of beans and why I'm calling this guy an abusive father, but I just bear with me throughout this journey. Basically, he starts off with saying that his 9-year-old daughter was hungry. And he basically said, "Oh, why don't you go make some beans?" And she's, I don't understand, like, telling your 9-year-old child, 9-year-old daughter, I believe. Yes, 9-year-old daughter. I don't understand the concept. Like, your child is 9, and I do understand maybe that's kind of an age that you start kind of cooking, I guess. But also, like, you couldn't just cook for your child. Like, I don't understand, but go off, I guess. In his head, he was considering this to be a learning opportunity. So he was going to tell her to put beans in a pot and cook it, to which she actually went up to him and was like, "Hey, I don't know how to open this can." So it turns out it wasn't one of those cans that had like a lift thingy on it. So she couldn't open it. She didn't know how. She was just like, "I don't understand how I'm supposed to open this, Dad. Can you help me?" And he's like, "Okay, here's a can opener. Here's a can. Figure it out." And it was so weird because he was posting about it and talking about it, and he was so proud of himself for basically telling his 9-year-old daughter, figure this out. Which is like, if I were to just say it, if I were to just say that, and like that was it, you would probably be like, Alexa, why are you so upset for? Like, I don't understand. How is this abuse? Like, he is teaching his daughter how to do things. That's very valid. If you want to teach your child how to use a can opener, that's fine. I feel like can openers are kind of dangerous for a 9-year-old, but go off, whatever. Here's the thing. She kept asking for help. She kept asking. She was like, Dad, I don't know how to do this. I don't understand where this twisty part goes. Why what do I turn it this way or that way? And basically, he kept telling her over and over, figure it out yourself, like learn the parts, learn the tools, like explain like all of these pieces and what they're meant to do, and basically figure it out. Which is kind of like, okay, again, you are teaching your child how to learn something for themselves. That is very fine, cool. After not being able to figure it out for whatever amount of time, she was kind of just like, okay, Dad, I don't even want beans, dude. Like, can we have something else? Like, I don't want to deal with this right now. She was hungry. And he proceeded to tell her, neither of us are going to eat dinner until you figure out how to open these beans. And then she proceeded to figure out how to use the can opener for the next 6 hours. 6 hours. Literally, he goes on to describe how she was crying and considering using a hammer to open it because she was so hungry. And I don't understand how this literally goes on. This thread is, I don't even know how long, but he literally goes on to describe like how she's really stressed out, she's angry. At some point she says like, I hate you, because she's so hungry, and he's making a big deal out of teaching her how to use this can opener. And at some point he says something like, oh, like, how did I not teach her how to use a can opener? Because apparently, oh yeah, he calls himself like an apocalypse dad. So I guess he was like, oh, just in case we're in an apocalypse, you need to know how to use a can opener, which is like, I, I guess, but like, she's 9, and it's like, you could have just taught her. You couldn't teach her to how to use a can opener. Can I have a moment? I'm gonna have a moment. We're gonna be honest here. Can openers be hard sometimes? Like, you know how many, like, I have an electric one and I have one of those hand ones too. And sometimes when I alternate between the two, I'm just like, okay, how does this work again? And then you can get injured as well using a can opener. I don't understand the concept of like, you really could have just did it for her, showed her, and she would have just learned. Like, I don't understand this concept of making her go through. I would have given her 5 minutes. 5 minutes to figure it out. And then if she would have just been like, oh my God, like, I'm hungry, can you feed me? Father that's supposed to take care of me because I'm hungry and I'm a child. Like, like, I would have just been like, okay, this is how you do it. Like, apparently he describes that the can is like dented and has scratches on it, and she clearly struggled with it for 6 hours. And then she was already hungry. So that means that she possibly didn't eat for longer than that, because if she was hungry, then that means she hasn't eaten since her last meal. So we're thinking what, 10, at most, maybe, hopefully 10 hours without food. What the fuck? And then he's like flexing and he's like, yeah, like, my daughter. And then she does eventually figure it out after 6 hours. And he's like proud of it. And he's like, oh, I taught my daughter how to be determined and how to teach herself things. And I'm so proud of myself. And I was just like, oh my God, why? And the replies to this thread were so brutal. And they were just like, this is abuse. And for you to try to make it seem like it's a learning experience and you're being good by teaching your daughter something is an actual fucking crime. And it really is unfortunate that she went that long. And it's like, you got to think about it long term. And I feel like people are thinking about it too much in the short term, where they're kind of just like, okay, she was frustrated for like a day, it's whatever. But in his head, he's like, oh yeah, I taught my daughter how to open a can with a can opener. Okay, you also taught your daughter to never fucking ask you for help ever again in her life. You also taught your daughter that you fucking suck and that she probably does hate you. At some point, she stops and she's like, I hate you. And he's kind of just like, oh, I'm sure that she thinks that now. Like, no, I'm pretty sure she actually fucking thinks that. And be prepared to not have a relationship with her when she grows up. If you're like this all the time, be prepared to not have a relationship with her when she's an adult. I can guarantee you the second that she leaves the house, she's never going to talk to you again. And then this is going to be documented all the time. So even if she like does not remember this, she is going to remember this one day and she's going to be like, "Wow, that was kind of fucked up." Like, and I don't even want to go so far as to say like this is a traumatic experience for her. If this was like this one time, I can't go to say what's a traumatic experience for anyone, but it's abuse. Whether you think about it that way or not, it is. And she went all these hours without eating, and it's just like just to learn how to use a can opener. And it's like, I understand in your head, you're like, oh, I'm training her for the apocalypse. It's like, oh my God, like you really could have just showed her how to use it instead of starving your child to what? For this flex? For this weird flex thread that's like, "Oh, look at me. I starved my child for 6 hours until she figured out how to use a can opener." Like that's so weird. What a weird flex. Like there are people that are just going through things that are significantly worse. Like this girl has food, a home, a family, and you're just like, how can I fuck this up? How can I traumatize my child that has everything that she needs to to survive? Like food and means of opening said food. Like you really couldn't just give her a fucking Lunchables. You had to go off and just be like, I'm not only am I gonna make her own food, but I'm going to starve her for 6 hours until she figures out how to open a can of beans. He basically ends this thread with like how proud of her he is and how she's like, oh, like now she wants to open all the cans in the house, haha. And it's just like, okay, she's still kind of hungry, dude. Like that's still kind of weird. Like the fact that I can't get over this. Hours. Imagine not feeding your 9-year-old for basically a whole day when you think about it. Because I'm assuming she had breakfast, hopefully, unless he fucking made her go get a chicken for the eggs. I'm assuming that's all she had was breakfast up until that point. So basically, you went a whole day without feeding your child. And now you kind of try to make it this like triumphant thing of like, and now she knows how to open a can. Okay. Like, you couldn't, you know how many cans have like the pull away shit anyway? Like, you really couldn't, you didn't teach her anything all that great. I mean, I won't even say that because, like, yeah, learning how to use a can opener is probably a big deal. Canned vegetables and stuff like that very much don't have the pull away thing. I think the only cans that really have the pull away thing is like the Chef Boyardee type of things, but nonetheless, it's like, dude, you really could have just showed her how to do it and be done in 5 minutes. I don't understand this concept of like being like like she was literally just there and she was like, I don't know how to do this. Like he's like, oh, go make some beans, and she goes, how? And it's just really unfortunate for her. I feel like I can talk about this uh in circles for hours. So I'm going to stop myself there. But that's kind of just like I I had to talk about it because I was kind of just like, this is insane, right? Like it's not just me that thinks that. Cuz you ever like see something on Twitter and it's really just like Twitter people that are mad, like it's nothing to actually be upset about. I feel like this is something that I'm kind of upset about, and maybe I am kind of dipping over into just like angry Twitter rants, but just to see how proud this guy is that he basically starved his child all day is a little sick and it's a little weird. And maybe we're all just a little bit more sensitive because of the year that we all just had. We've all had a pretty traumatic year. So I hope you guys are going to start therapy soon because it seems like it's just going to just affect us forever. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, maybe I do know how I feel about it. I'm pretty upset about it, obviously, clearly. But guys, just feed your kids. That's how I'm going to end this story. That's how I'm going to end this podcast. Feed your fucking kids. Don't be a douchebag. Um yeah, and apparently bullying works sometimes because this guy deleted his Twitter. It's gone. Good riddance, I guess. I can't say I feel bad for the guy because I don't. But that's what we learned. Feed your kids and bullying works sometimes. So with that being said, that's how I'm gonna wrap up this first episode of our new podcast together. I hope you guys share your thoughts and opinions in any way that you can. And just be kind to one another, except this guy. Fuck this guy. Ew, bye. Sorry.